Hello, folks, and welcome to our very first show here at Indigo's Cafe. It's such a great privilege having you guys. Need to start off with an apology, although it's something that you probably shouldn't be doing your very first show. But I need to explain what happened. We had every intention to go live with the show on August the 2nd. We had everything set up, all the guests were in play. We even did a test show. And about 3 to 5 minutes before the show started, the internet went out. And as you know, if you're going to do a live show over the internet, you need internet. So it didn't work out. We thought the internet would just go down for a little bit and would come back up, but it ended up not even coming up for a while. And when it did come up, the latency was so bad that it wasn't even worth recording the show. So we apologize for that. But what we decided to do was to record the show in pieces. I put it all together, and what you're seeing now is the recorded show. I hope you enjoy it. So as we get started into the show, I want to give you a little idea of what this show is going to be about. Indigo's Cafe is an idea that came to my mind after I'd seen so many Zoom videos this summer. Of people all around the world, making videos of themselves, singing and playing instruments and doing really cool things. And I thought, you know what? I'd like to have a show where I invite friends from all over the world to come in and be on the show and showcase their talent. So that's why I decided to put this format together. The intent is to do it live. Hopefully, we'll get to that point. We're going to retry with another show, different group of people, obviously. But that's the whole gist of the show. So without further ado, let's get into the show for today. We have 4 guests. We have Mark Charette. We have Fabio Setti. We have Michelle Thomas. And we have Giorgio Cocky. So we hope you enjoy our guests today. And speaking of guests, I want to let everyone know that if you know anyone out there that has talent, please get in touch with me. I would love to have them on the show. And as you'll see, the show is just not musical talent. We're looking for all forms of talent. You can be an artist, a designer. You can make clothes, fashion. You can have a hobby building toy boats, or whatever your hobby is, or then you want to share it, or whatever your talent is that you would like to share with the world. Please come on to the show and share it with all the friends around the world. We have a lot of talented friends out there, and we just want people to see that there's a lot of great talent out there. I'm thinking about adding 2 sections. So currently the show has 2 sections. The first section is the musical section. It's called Let's Groove. And then the second, I call it a section, but it's actually a segment. The second segment of the show is called Up Close and Personal. And in that segment, we're going to showcase talent that's other than musical. So, for example, today's show, we have a couple people that one's an artist and one makes guitars. So we hope you enjoy that. But I'm thinking about adding a couple more segments to the show. One is, so can you make me laugh? And from the title, you probably can guess that it's about stand-up comedy. There's a lot of funny friends out there, and we want you to come in onto the show or come into the cafe and share some laughs with us so we can all laugh during these hard times. Another thing that I'm thinking about adding, or a segment I'm thinking about adding to the show, is a segment called Get to Know. And Get to Know is where people can send in videos showcasing where they live, some things about their town, their thing, but not things that are stereotypical. So, for example, if a person lives in Paris, we don't necessarily want to see a video of the Eiffel Tower, things that people have seen a million times. But we're looking for people to showcase some off the beaten path things that you wouldn't normally be associated to. It's kind of like this too is Paris. Paris is known for this, but it also has this. So if you want to make a video, send it in. Feel free. At the end of the show, I will put up a website where you can send all the information to, and we'll go from there. But let's get on with the show. And as I've mentioned, the first section is So, folks, our very, very first guest on the show is Mark Charette, all the way from Fallbrook, California. Mark, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us.
Thanks for inviting me.
So, Mark, we know that you're a musician. Well, I know you're a musician. The audience may not. But tell us a little more about yourself. Where you're from, how you got into music, things like that.
Well, I was originally from Michigan, Detroit. I was born in Detroit and lived there, probably same square 20 miles for about 45 years to the point where I needed a change and moved. That's why I moved to California and need a little bit more sunshine and better weather consistently because if you've ever been to Michigan, you know not to go in the winter. As far as
I'm
influence,
actually from Ohio, next door.
oh well, see, actually, you're more in the snow belt than we are.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I kind of came out here about a year and a half ago, and we're really enjoying it. So it's a nice change of pace. As far as musical influence or where it all kind of started, it was pretty early. Um, as far as my childhood, I was probably 3 or 4, and I'm going by stories that have been told to me because I don't remember. But my parents told me that I used to have 2 toys that were my favorites. It was my ABBA and my Bila, supposedly, and that was my microphone and my guitar.
Wow.
And so that was apparently an important thing to me. And again, there was music in the house. My mom loved Elvis, and my dad loved Motown and a little bit of hard rock. And um, so there was that element in the house, but neither one of them were musicians. But I think they seen something in me and they didn't discourage it. I was always tapping on things. There was dents all over my mom's furniture from the pencils. Those were my drumsticks. And there was a time supposedly I woke them up in the middle of the night singing Kathmandu by Bob Seger at the foot of their bed. And,
Wow.
so I was really young and I had the bug pretty early. And then as I got older, my uncle Greg, he was kind of an older brother to me. He was like the cool, he was everything I wanted to be. And he played me Led Zeppelin in Through the Outdoor when I was about 7. So that had been about 1979. And all the lights went on. It's what I wanted. From that point on, I was hooked and I was into so much. And it seems early, but I was always asking for music. And as I got old enough to procure it myself, I was just always getting everything I could get my hands on. Primarily in the hard rock category. And as I gotten older, I've kind of diversified. But yeah, so it was it's always been there. I've always had, a love for it.
Wow. Fascinating story. Thank you for sharing with us. So I just have a couple more questions for you. Actually, just one, because I know you play a variety of instruments. Hey, by the way, could you take us on like a little mini tour of your studio?
Yep. All right, hold on. So, let's see if I can see. All right, so here's my amp. That's a Vox. Got a Fender Stratocaster. Got a nice Ampeg bass amp. Got a Fender jazz bass. Here's my conga section.
Wow.
There's the drums. It needs a little bit more of a span. There you go. And then a ton of pictures that are yet to be on the wall. This is still kind of in process. Here's some acoustic guitars. And here's all of the influences. And there's the mixing board.
Wow.
So, yeah, we got a little bit of everything here.
Wow. So all you need is just a group of people to come over. You have everything all set for them, huh?
Well, yeah. I mean, originally I was mainly just a drummer when I was little. I started playing drums when I was 13, but I started realizing the limitations of being a drummer. I can't write my own song. I can't. So I started learning guitar, bass, harmonica, and I didn't take lessons. I kind of regret that now. I kind of self-taught But so yes, it's nice to play with a band, but I don't need one. That's why I got a mixing board, so I just layer, I'll lay down a guitar track and then a vocal and put drums, put bass, and there's my band, so it's kind of affords me the ability to be creative and not be dependent on other people doing so.
Wow. Very cool. One last question, Mark, and then I'll let you go. This is a hypothetical question. If you could play any instrument or sing or do whatever with any band, what band would it be, and what song would you sing with that band or play?
Well, we've talked about this before, but Led Zeppelin, Beatles, they're kind of neck and neck for me. I'd probably lean a little bit towards Zeppelin. I don't really feel anywhere near qualified to play with either one of those bands, but if I were, I would like to sing. I would like to sing in front Led Zeppelin.
Wow.
And as far as a song, I'd probably play a song called "Bring It On Home." It's an old blues song that I actually used to do in a band with some brothers. It's got some harmonica in the beginning, which I got to play, and it's a fun song. That's a really cool song. So yeah, that would be my choice if I could.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mark. And we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for being on the show. But just so the audience knows, Mark was kind enough to supply us with a video of a song that he put together. So let's take a look at the video. Thanks a lot. Thanks again, Mark.
All right. Thank you.
She's
So, folks, our next guest on the show is Fabio Setti. Fabio, welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris, thank you. Thank you for
It,
having me.
it's a pleasure having you on the show. So, just folks, just by way of full disclosure, Fabio and I live together. He's my roommate, and so it's kind of cheating because he's local, but he's a great pianist, so that's all that counts. So,
Uh,
Fabio, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from?
I'm from Rovereto. It's a little village very close to Verona, and so we are in the north part of Italy. And I live by the Garda Lake with Chris.
Thank you. So, Fabio, how long have you been playing the piano?
Since I was 15. Yeah, I start more or less in in this time.
Wow, that's a long time. I won't say how old he is, but I'll just say that he's been playing a long time, so he's got a lot of experience. So, Fabio, I understand that your favorite music style is jazz. Okay, now, did you grow up playing jazz, or how did you even get into jazz?
Well, yes, I love jazz, but when I start, I played popular music and classical music, but classical is too difficult for me. No, I prefer jazz and the way you can improvisation, the way I can express myself.
Wow. And folks, I just need to let you know that uh, obviously English is not Fabio's first language, but he was so kind to do this interview in English, and he's doing an amazing job. You know, we really need to give him a round of applause. Thank you, Fabio. So, Fabio, a couple more questions for you. So, I understand that jazz is a type of music that you generally play in groups with groups of people. So, since jazz is not like super popular in Italy, do you ever get a chance to play with other people, or like how do you even do that? Like if you want to play some songs in uh, or anything like that.
Yeah, you have a reason. When you play jazz with other musician, is great. It's a great experience because you can share your language in music, and in jazz, it's called interplay. Uh, well, obviously, I looking for someone to play jazz. Uh, Now I play with a friend of mine, a girl. She is a very good and talented singer, but
Wow,
who
very
knows
nice.
the future?
Wow. So hopefully there's someone that's going to watch this today that's into jazz that might give you a call, send you an email. So if you want, we can put your contact information out there, and they can contact you if they're interested in playing jazz with you. What do you think about that?
Yeah, will
That'll
be
be okay.
great.
You're okay with
Yeah,
that? You're cool with that?
thank you, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Fabio, very much for taking the time to talk with us, and especially in a language that's not yours. You get double thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Okay. So, folks, Fabio is going to be kind enough to give us a little demonstration of his jazz skills. So, let's watch. Wow, Fabio. That was excellent. Thank you. Wow. That was great. Thank you. Thank you for being on the show, and thank you for that sharing your great talent with us. So, folks, our next section is called Up Close and Personal. And we have with us Michelle Thomas. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, how are you?
Fine. I have to confess, Michelle and I have known each other for quite a while now. So she's not an unknown quantity for me, but she will be for most of you folks. So I knew about her and her talent, and I actually reached out to her. She didn't come looking for me. I actually went looking for her. So welcome to the show, Michelle. Thank you so much for your patience, and I'm apologizing to everybody for the technical difficulties, but thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Michelle, I have a few questions for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Buckle down. You ready for
Yes.
this? Okay. The first one's going to be easy. Tell us a little about your background in art. Like, how did you get started? Do you have a gift?
I grew up in a family that revolved around art. So my father is a really talented natural musician, like Mark is. And so he played in a band since he was 12 years old. And so we always had music, some of the same favorites that Mark had in our house growing up. And my mother always had a painting going. So there's always a huge canvas and oil painting going on in the house.
Wow.
And we're visiting museums and galleries and going to concerts every free family moment that we had. So our household was really just full of art, and my parents really encouraged us growing up, my sister and me growing up in Chicago.
Wow. Very, very nice. So what have been some of your biggest influences outside of your family? Obviously, your family's been a big influence, but
So my family, yeah. So having the encouragement of my family is really important, but also growing up in a city, so city life and interchanges between people with very different worldviews. So that kind of cultural collision is very interesting to me. And also, my parents grew up in India, and so I grew up with parents who had a different context for the way they grew up than I did. And so these two kind of parallel worlds lived in my mind. And so I was always very interested in expressing my reality and expressing the reality of other people who are kind of in between cultures or living with this kind of contradictory worldviews inside themselves and kind of negotiating that. And so in my own negotiating of this, I kind of wanted to express that and hope other people find some kind of catharsis in seeing my expressions. So that's kind of motivation.
Wow, that's deep. Impressive and deep. No, and I'm really glad that you brought that up because I'm sure for a lot of artists, it can be a little tricky navigating the different cultures and things like that. I remember one time, and we didn't talk about this section, Michelle and I kind of went through some of the questions I was going to ask, but I didn't mention this to her. I have an artist friend that lives in Washington, and he only paints pictures of Caucasians. And I asked him, I said, can I ask the question, why don't you paint other nationality people? And you know what? So what he told me, which is really interesting, he said, when you're painting a picture of a Caucasian, it's art. If you're painting a picture of someone else, you're making a statement, political statement.
Interesting.
And I never thought of it that way. It's just like, and it's sad that it's like that in the world.
Yeah.
And he didn't mean anything by it.
Yeah.
He was just saying that generally if somebody, they're trying to make a point if they paint somebody that's non-Caucasian. And I thought that's really, really interesting. So I can imagine what life is like for artists that want to get recognized and, they're outside of that, that scope. What's called the scope. I thought that was really interesting. So I'm going to let the cat out the bag about something about Michelle. She won't do it, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to humble brag for you, Michelle. So if I understand correctly, is it your art or that you're going to be working with the DeYoung? How does that? Tell us about that.
So the DeYoung is having an exhibition that's dedicated to Bay Area artists. And one of my pieces was selected for that show. Now, public places and museums are closed in the US right now. Most are very much not open. But once the DeYoung opens, so it's a museum here in San Francisco, I'll be part of that. So I'm really honored. I just found out about that this week.
Wow. You can't see it. Let me clap over here. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Really good. So, we've talked a little bit about your art. Let's let people see it. Okay. So let's go here. Maybe you can work with me. You can't see this, but you know your site well enough, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk through some of your art. I'm on your website right now, and I'm actually going through some of the art, and I'm going to click on your portfolio here. And I'm going to ask you some questions about some of this art. I really like you have this one section which everyone seems to be falling or jumping. What was the vision behind that?
So those pieces are part of a collection called Sin Miedo. And so I worked on those paintings during this time in my life where I started my career as an art teacher. And I worked as a high school for about 7 years, English teacher for 7 years. But when I moved to California, I started for Apple to product leader. I've gotten to make and to be so wrapped up in just getting to the place and coming to it. And so around this time, I had a strong motivation to make these paintings of like who are jumping in and maybe moving from one platform to another. I think that's my brain to do. I wanted to leave the life that I was living and move to something else, but that something else was still unknown. And so it's a series of people, and sin miedo, as you know, in Spanish means without fear or fearless. And so I think it was kind of my subconscious kind of urging me, or my subconscious urging kind of coming out with this need to leave what I was doing because it wasn't working for me emotionally and just with my life goals, and move to something else, but trying to figure out what that something else was. But I think I was trying to urge myself to move to that something else fearlessly. And the paintings help to do that.
Wow. Very, very impressive. So I clicked on your portfolio and I looked at some paintings, and I'm actually blown away by these paintings. And one in particular, I really love, and I actually wouldn't mind owning it. Maybe we'll have to talk offline about that. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. The three guys, one in the middle with the turban. What's the story behind these guys? Are they actually someone, or do they represent someone or something?
Oh, thank you for asking that. So usually I work with a white background. And so the goal is to like strip this human who's kind of like in between, maybe ethnically ambiguous, but kind of maybe has some sort of ethnic context, to remove all of that and just have the human. So no clothing that identifies them with a certain culture, no background that identifies them with a certain culture. But those three pieces that have a black background were all made under quarantine. And so my current series kind of focuses on historical characters. And in this case, they're biblical characters, and kind of recontextualizing for the present.
Wow.
To focus on their qualities, like why do we remember them now? So those three pieces, they're titled Habakkuk, Daniel, and Yohanan. So in English, so Habakkuk, Daniel, and John. Mm-hmm. And so those were three pieces made under quarantine when we're kind of thinking about the world falling apart, and times in the past when the world has fallen apart or systems have fallen apart, and kind of these people who are standing in the face of it and have a sense of integrity through that time, and trying to challenge those feelings in myself. So those three characters are kind of representing this kind of like prophetic stance, and they're kind of like having hope in a bigger picture, even when things are really grim and terrifying.
Wow. Wow. You know what's so funny? I don't know. I love art. Love art. And I could live, my house, if I were rich, would be at a gallery. And I always wondered how people think at these deeper levels when they're making art, because I kind of dabble in design and art and stuff like that. But nothing I do ever has like a deep And I always wondered, like, what makes these artists go to these deep places to make this beautiful, beautiful art? And it's just fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And just one more last question. If someone wants to, say, purchase your art, do they just go to your website? They can get it on your art?
Yes. Yeah. So I have a shop section on my website.
Okay.
and you can just work directly through there. It's a pretty seamless process. And there's also a spot for budget-friendly work. So if somebody wants to print, those are also available on the website.
And as I do not live in the United States, is that an issue or
no? We can
international shipping?
Figure out the most reliable shipper where you live, and work it out.
Okay. Thank you so much, Michelle. And again, I apologize for all the technical difficulties on our first show, but it's hopefully, it'll work out. But your part was very, very good. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay, folks, our next guest on the show today is Giorgio Cocky. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Hi,
Giorgio.
Thank you. That was correct. You're right.
So, Giorgio, I have to say that in all my years of living, I've never met anyone that has your particular talent. Giorgio is a guitar maker and a pretty good one too. So
thank you.
Let's talk to Giorgio about this great talent. So, Giorgio, just a few questions. First, how did you even get started making guitars?
Well, I started slowly. I was in the beginning. I was just fascinated about how guitars works, how to get some kind of sounds, and I was doing mods to my own guitars that I had. And then I started by buying some old and maybe in bad shape guitars and trying to fix them to make them play good again. And at the time that I lost my job, so I was without a job, and I had a lot of free time, and I decided to invest this time in learning a new job. And so I focused on studying and starting to building, to experiment. And now it's my job.
Wow. That's a nice story. I like the story. So do you specialize in a certain type of guitar, like acoustic, electrical? Do you do both?
Well, now I'm focusing just on electric guitars. I maybe one day I'll try also to build some acoustic ones, but now I decided to go on this path because I like those are the ones that I like most. I like the sound of electric guitars and all the kind of stuff that you usually play your electric guitar with, so amplifiers, pedals, and things like that.
Oh, wow. Also cool, because you also make amplifiers and other things too, right?
Yeah, yes, I have.
Wow, that is amazing. That is a great story. So, Giorgio, when you started to make a guitar, how do you find, or where do you find inspiration for your designs?
Well, right now I'm taking inspiration on the classic vintage models like Fender, Gibson style guitars. Those are the most common, and people are used to see those kind of shapes and those kind of guitars. So I'm taking inspiration by those shapes, but then I'm always trying to do something different with them. Maybe making different sounds from them, or trying to improve some issues that the original ones may have. So I'm trying to take just the shape of the original guitar, but then inside is something different.
Wow, very cool. So you have you want to make a guitar. What's your process, or how long does it even take to make a guitar?
Well, it depends on the model of guitar I want to make. Usually I'm starting from drawing a project on paper, and then I translate the project to the raw wood and start by the log of wood. So it may take from about 2 weeks to 1 month, or even more if it is a complicated design. It depends on the kind of guitar I'm making.
Wow. I never imagined it would take so long to make a guitar. So just a couple more questions. So in an ideal world, what type of your customer would be your favorite, or who would be your ideal customer?
That's a good question. Usually, the kind of customer I like more is the one that trusts me and gives me some freedom about the building. So let me do something different, something maybe unexpected with the guitar I'm building. And I always try to make something new when I'm building guitars. I never made two exactly the same. I always try to improve something or change something to experiment also.
Wow. So cool. Thank you so much, Giorgio. I just have one last question, and just for full disclosure to the audience, we did rehearse these questions, so he knew what I was going to ask him.
Yes.
But this question I'm going to ask him right now, we didn't rehearse.
It's unexpected.
I won't throw him off. So,
okay.
Giorgio, one last question. Say there's someone in the audience right now that wants a guitar made. They see the video that we're going to show in a few minutes, and they want to get a guitar made. How can they contact you? Like, where can they get information? And would you ship anywhere in the world?
Yes, well, I can ship anywhere. That's no problem. You can find some of my works in my Facebook page. You just type Giorgio Cocky handmade guitars. And also I'm on Google. So if you Google Giorgio Cocky handmade guitars, I should be the first result you get, I hope.
Hopefully there's not another Giorgio Cocky.
Actually, there's another Giorgio Cocky that is a guitar player from France.
Yeah.
And you can see, but that's not me.
Yeah, I think you're safe. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Giorgio. And just so you guys can see the quality of guitars that Giorgio makes, take a look at this video that he made for us.
Thank you.
So, folks, that's the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I really want to thank Giorgio, Michelle, Fabio, and Mark for helping me out with this very first show. I think they have excellent talent, and I hope you guys think so too. I hope you guys like the show enough to want to come back and see another show. Also, if you have talent and you want to be on this show, at the end of this little short video that's coming up, there'll be the email address where you can email to get more information. So feel free to email me. Again, thank you for taking the time out to watch this show. And come back and join us again at Indigo's Cafe. Hey folks, this is Indigo. Thanks so much for stopping by the cafe today. We really enjoyed having you. If you liked today's show, please give it a like. And if you want to see more great content like this, just click on the subscribe button and then turn on notifications. Also, if you know of anyone who you think would like to be on the show, reach out to us and let us know. Until then, stay safe, have fun, and most of all, be kind to one another.